Alrighty. Hello and good morning, Michelle. How are you?
Good morning. How are you? I'm
I'm
well.
doing well.
Good.
I I want to go ahead and just mention really quickly. I know that I'm frozen, so I apologize for that. It gets a little wonky when I start recording, but we're going to go ahead and still continue. So, Michelle, if you don't mind, will you please tell me a little bit about your professional experience?
My professional experience encompasses quite a bit, and I've been afforded to be able to have opportunities which allow me to be able to gain additional skill sets and abilities to be able to perform my job effectively and efficiently through administrative roles, uh, um, executive directorship, even starting entry level when I worked with Secretary of Housing and Urban Development through their management companies through the foreclosure division to start as an entry level contract reviewer and work my way up to the closing manager. So those type of skills afforded me to be able to not only lead people, show my leadership abilities, as well as gain additional skills to allow those skill sets to be then onsetted onto other positions that I've held throughout my career.
Amazing, amazing. And thank you for that introduction. Definitely highlights your professional career. I want to go ahead and ask you a little more in reference to your executive administrative position over at
Yes.
Gas Turbine Corporation. So, if you don't mind, tell me a little bit about what your day to day looked like.
My day to day, there were days where my tasks were complex. And I say complex because they could start as early as 4 o'clock in the morning and run through 5 o'clock in the afternoon when there were on-site all hands meetings for over 600 employees. And that day-to-day task required that slide presentation put together, which it was a corporate-wide event that happened at every site through Chromalloy Gas Turbine Corporation. And those day-to-day tasks, even with a 5 o'clock start, a first viewing at 5 a.m. for the first shift and third shift, running through the day, periodically meeting schedule, setting those time gaps to be able to afford all of the employees to take part and making sure that they participated in that on-site training. And that happened quarterly. So that was one of the big key. It was running visual compliance OFAC against the OFAC's list for visitors, for new employees, for potential employees that came into the building, for contractors, suppliers that came into the building on a daily basis, and making sure that they met the criteria of the OFACs, were not flagged for any reason, to be able to come on site because of the proprietary information technology that Chromalloy Gas Turbine dealt with in and through their arena, in the aerospace arena. So that could be managing calendars for the executive team, for the senior vice president, the GM, for the operations director, for the engineering director. It was a staff of 23. So managing those calendars as well as room calendars to make sure that meetings were scheduled not with conflict, but simultaneously so that everybody had an opportunity to be able to meet. Sometimes it was shuffling the board. It was almost like playing a chess match to where you had to move people from one side of the building to the other side because there was a conflict and room meetings were scheduled without my awareness on top. So then I had to play the referee and make sure that everybody stayed in a cordial and a peaceful manner so they can get complete and get their job done. So it can range from one end to the other end, customers coming in and demanding to be able to speak to the engineers, being able to speak to the operations manager. And again, okay, I'm your best contact right now, and whatever I can assist with, being able to keep them in a subtle and a peaceful mindset so that they can basically relay their message or their task is completed to then be passed off to someone else. It may not even been the person that they needed to see, that they wanted to see. However, it was getting them to the right person, getting them to the right facility. It may have been a corporate employee that they needed to talk to. It's getting them to the corporate person, the director of sales, the global interface person. So it all depends on, with that role, it all depends. It could go from the far left to the extreme right. So at any given time, but just making sure that peacefully everybody was taken care of. There was, at the end of the day, there was a smile on everybody's face. There was no disgruntledness. Everybody was on the same playing field.
That is an incredible, very, very detailed when it comes down to what your day-to-day look like. And as you mentioned in the beginning, very complex. Were you supporting 3 C-suite personnel, and then underneath them you had about 23 more people that you were supporting, or was the team consistent of 23?
Well, the team consisted of 23 at the Tampa location. However, there were executives that were at corporate, there were executives at other facilities that were coming into Tampa, that then my role shifted. Now I have to support all of them. So on a given day, it could be, out of 17 locations, it could have been any of the executives, as well as corporate employees, as well as board members, or board member emeritus that were coming on site. So it just all depends on the given day. So the C-suite, it was the senior vice, it was the president, it was the CEO, it was the board members, it was any of the VP suite as well, then the directorship, then the GM, the operations manager. So all the way down to even the HR team. So
incredible.
Making sure, you're talking 600 employees at one site, which the Tampa site was one of the larger sites versus some of the smaller sites that may have only had 175 to 100 people.
Wow, that really puts into perspective, and it sounds like you definitely had your handfuls at that position. So that I'm sure you learned so many skills at that role as well. Now, in reference to some systems that you have used, would you mind sharing those systems with me? Now, I know a lot of companies have their own pertaining system, but we can generalize it as well, perhaps Google or Microsoft, and spreadsheets as well.
Well, we did utilize Microsoft products, from Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, even some Access database softwares, Outlook for email and calendar management, as well as Cronler had its own EMR system. So where they would track the movement of the parts from start to finish, even after they were sold to the customer. In that, the system was built to be able to manage invoicing, purchase orders, receipts into that dealt with and around the manufacturing parts for each piece of equipment going in. Even the equipment as well was also incorporated into that. Then there was, of course, our favorite, which is Concur, SAP Concur software, which deals with the expense reporting, managing that, being able to put those in to Concur expense reports on a monthly basis, on a bi-weekly basis, on a weekly basis for some who traveled more often than others. And then with SharePoint as well, Power BI, those products as well, moving through on a daily basis for reporting purposes, Salesforce, things of that nature. Yes.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing those systems with me as well, Michelle.
Yes.
2 more questions to wrap it up here. In reference to requesting time off, do you have any appointment or vacations that we should know about the next 30 to 60 days?
I would say 30 to 60 days, maybe not, but I would, well, 30 days, no. 60 to 90 days, yes. I have a 17-year-old who's soon to be graduating high school. So
Awesome.
right now we're embarking on all of the senior activities
Yes.
as we approach graduation, and senior trip after graduation. So right now, that's why I said on the long term, the 60 to 90 to 120 days, yes. There are
No.
1 or 2 days that will be that will require all of my attention.
Absolutely. I get you. You definitely want to be involved in those activities with
Yeah.
your little one. Not so little one, but still consider little one for
Yes.
another year or so. So
Yes.
that's
Yes.
always exciting. Again, I appreciate all the details you provided me today, Michelle. It truly was a pleasure getting to know your experience a bit further.
Yes.
Absolutely. I want to go ahead and stop the recording, but if you don't mind, stay with me really quickly on a camera. I still want to chat with you.
Yes.
Thank you.